Guys, I'm going to put this straight for you, okay? The examiner doesn't care how pretty or not pretty your steering is. They only care about whether the car is smooth, safe, and fully under your control. So you do not fail for automatically crossing your arms. And you don't fail because your arms are too high on the wheel or too low on the wheel or upside down on the wheel. It doesn't matter. Because there is no one steering method that fits all situations. But saying all of that, steering is still in the top 10 reasons to fail your driving test. It's just not because your hands looked wrong on the wheel. It's because you hit a roundabout, or you drove into the curb, or you drove into the wrong lane. So this video is not about making your hands look perfect on the wheel. It's about making you look in control and feel in control of the car. There are two methods you would have heard about when steering the car. The first one is the hand over hand method. This is basically when you cross your arms. Now, this feels better when you've got big turns, such as a big corner or when you're trying to get into a parking space. Why? Just because it's easier. The bigger the turn, the easier it is to get the steering wheel around. So if I'm trying to get into one of these bays here, I might find it much easier to just get my hand right round the wheel and take over with the other hand. Very good for reverse bay parking and anything that's going to require a good solid 90-degree or more turn. Now, the second more common method in the UK for driving is called the push-pull technique. And this is literally when you have a hand on either side of the wheel, wherever you want, and when you need to turn, you pull with the left hand. If you get to the bottom and you run out of space, the right hand would take over and carry on pushing. I'll show you an example here. We're going to turn left here. Hopefully he's going to give way to me. There you go. So my hand went to the top, I pull, and then my right hand takes over and I push. And the same thing happens when I bring the wheel back round. We're going to turn left here, both hands going near the top, and left hand starts off pulling, right hand takes over, and I keep doing that. And generally, your hands will mirror image, one hand staying on the left side of the wheel and one hand staying on the right side of the wheel. That way is recommended just because it's good for every situation. Not quite as good for steering into a very tight space as the hand over hand, but still works for most opportunities, most driving. Now, saying all of that, if your grip is too tight on the wheel and you're looking in the wrong place when you're driving, or you're steering too late, your steering is just going to feel absolutely awful anyway, and it doesn't matter how you hold the wheel. And that's what this video is about. Let's look at what actually makes a difference. So most drivers think that steering is just a case of turning the wheel. It isn't. Steering is actually your main connection to the car. So if your steering feels twitchy, nervous, rushed, messy, that probably isn't just your hands. It's your grip, your eyes, your timing. There's lots of different things involved. And this matters because steering is one of the top 10 reasons that people actually fail their driving test. So in this video, I'm going to show you the top steering mistakes that make driving feel much harder than it needs to be. Now have a quick think, where are steering mistakes most likely to happen? Hopefully you're saying roundabouts, junctions, sharp bends. They don't often happen on empty roads. And that's why we've built Driving Test Expert to help you know where these awkward corners and junctions are. If you want to practice some independent driving with whoever you want at home, I can promise you it's the absolute best way to be ready for a driving test. Just get them to pick up a pad and write some information for you at the end of the test while you follow the sat nav. That feeling is going to be the best thing to help you actually be ready for your driving test. Trust me, I do it every single day. One of the biggest bad habits that we have when we're steering is we grip the wheel too tight. Now this tends to happen when you get onto faster roads or when you're particularly nervous, which when you're learning to drive can be quite common. The problem is the tighter you grip that wheel, the more it's going to shake, the less control you're going to feel and the more constant you're going to need to readjust because you have no feeling of what the wheel's actually telling you. The wheel communicates with you as much as you communicate with the wheel, but only when you're gentle. When we're going at speed down a road, our car wants to go ahead. So we don't actually need a great deal of pressure on the car wheel at all. I'm not suggesting ever let go of the wheel, that would be a terrible idea. What I am suggesting though is you don't need that death grip. The lighter you are on the wheel, the more you can actually feel where the car wants to go. And you can still easily redirect with very little turning power. It's a bit like when you change the page of a book. How much effort do you put into changing the page? You could grip that page and you could do it really hard, but you don't. Why not? Because you don't want to damage the book and you don't need that pressure. It's actually easier with less pressure, more finesse. Driving and steering are exactly the same. When you do the death white knuckle grip, it's like you're actually fighting the car to survive and go where I say. It doesn't look comfortable, it doesn't look good to anyone watching. I don't think it does anyway. I mean, you can tell me if I did look good, but I don't imagine that I did. And you certainly don't feel in more control than a nice loose grip. And when we're really light with that grip on the wheel, it helps us understand the road surface we're driving on. If it changes, it's easier to tell if it changes. For instance, if we drive through water, when we're really light on the wheel, we're going to feel that. We're going to feel that sensitivity of something's changed, what do we need to adjust? Compared to the death grip, you are not going to have any idea or any feeling at all. So basic rule number one, don't strangle the steering wheel. And when the examiner asks us to pull over on the left, we end up staring at the curb rather than at the road, and we end up just driving bomb straight up the freaking curb. And then we wonder, well, why does that happen? It's because our eyes are looking at the curb and our hands follow our eyes. Now, of course, we do actually want to pull over on the left. So you might be saying, well, we need to look at the curb somewhere, Josh. Yes, we just don't look at it directly in front of us. Instead, we use the end of the curb as the reference point. And then we just gently come in looking at the end of the curb, or even better, use a reference point on the edge here. What we don't want to do is ever stare at the curb directly in front of us. The other big issue that we have when we're learning to steer is we look too close to the front of the car. And this is often very clear, very obvious when we're turning into a new road. I'll show you now. Now we're turning right at the next road on the right, so I'm checking my mirrors. Going into my lane. Now there's oncoming cars, so I'm getting into my lane. I'm slowing down, I'm adjusting my speed for after this car. I've decided it's clear. Now what lots of people do is they end up looking at this corner here. I just want to slow this down a little bit more, guys. So these are the three places you look. The first one is obviously the oncoming cars. You find a space, then you start looking at the corner, the turning point, and finally you want your eyes to lift up to be looking at the end of the road that you're turning into. It's good, but then the eyes need to raise up and look ahead all the way down the end of the road, because that's where I want my car to go. And by doing that, I'm going to make far less micro adjustments, and I'm not going to be scared because I'm going to know what's ahead. I'm going to have already seen that car that was waiting for me, rather than looking at the road here and then suddenly looking up and I'll go, oh crap, what's going on? And that's the difference. Hand position does still matter, not because there's just one perfect hand position to pass your driving test, because depending on where you place your hands on the steering wheel is going to depend on how sensitive your turning is in the car. If you look at my hands there, they've gone to the top of the wheel because I need a big turn, but that doesn't mean they stay at the top of the wheel everywhere I drive. Now, you would have heard lots of instructors recommend the 10 and 2. I mean, my steering wheel actually still has these knobbly bits on 10 and 2, and that is a good place to keep your hands if you're comfortable with that. The basic rule with steering is the higher your hands are on the wheel, the less sensitivity you're going to have, the more twitchy it's going to be. So you see how jerky my car is, because you're now using your arms, which are far stronger than your wrists and your hands. So it means when you turn, you do just have the added weight of your hands and everything's much twitchier. And saying that, the lower your hands are on the steering wheel, the less twitchy you're going to be and the more sensitive you're going to be. Now, that's not saying that having your hands on the bottom of the wheel is a good idea, because it's not. And that's why you've generally got the 10 and 2 recommendation, which is having a hand here and here, or the 9 and 3 recommendation. Now, the 9 and 3 gives us the best of both worlds because it's right in the middle of the wheel. You have the balance between sensitivity and control. You can get lots of steering, but still have a nice sensitive turn. Now, the common one you may see, the bad boy, what you gonna do? Now, it may feel casual, relaxed, whatever, but it's twitchy, it's less balanced. So you see, my steering wheel's already wanting to twitch. Trying to turn with your hand here is going to make it far more difficult and uncomfortable, because you just haven't got the same control as you do when you've got two hands. And as you can see, we've got the added weight of my arm on top, so I'm using my whole arm to steer. I'm going to be making loads of micro adjustments, not what we're aiming for. The absolute best standard driving position you can hold is the 9 and 3. And that's just because it's pretty good for everything. You've got the balance of turning power, which is near the top, with sensitivity, which is near the bottom. And it's just good for most situations. One of the really common mistakes that people make when they're learning to drive is when they're turning left or right or at a roundabout, they steer too late. And the later you steer, the more steering is going to require quicker, which is going to make it more panicky and more likely to make a hiccup. You're also then going to need to straighten back up. The more steering you've done, the more straightening you're going to have to do. So if you can avoid it, we want to steer earlier and more gently, which is going to make everything feel smoother. I'll show you now. Another example of when we steer really late is when we come out of junctions turning right. And what we often do when we're learning to drive is we head across the road and then last second we try and steer really late. And basically what's going to happen is you're going to screw up the steering, and it's going to be harder to turn the car. What we want to do is we want to turn earlier and a more gentle steer. Here we go, so we're turning right here. So this time I'm going to do an earlier turn and more gentle. It doesn't matter if I stay on the wrong side of the road a little bit longer because I've made sure it's clear anyway. It's going to mean I'm going to get up to speed far quicker. Okay, so there we go. So I'm turning and I've turned much earlier than I did before. So I stayed on the other side of the road for an extra second, but I got up to speed faster. So it's probably the same, if not quicker, than trying to do that late steering that I did before. The other example of steering late is when we get parked cars. The later we steer, the more we have to steer. So imagine there's an oncoming car, I need to wait behind this parked car. The closer I get to the car, the more steering I'm going to have to do and the more difficult it's going to be to get out. So this is an angled start here. So imagine we've waited here for someone to come. Now I've got to go. If I don't full lock the wheel, I'm going to end up going into the back. So I've had to do a full lock. So how long does that take me to get out from every parked car? Whereas if I leave more space, then I need to do less steering. Now here's another example. Now this time there's a parked car there and I'm going to leave lots of space to the parked car to wait for the imaginary oncoming car. So I'm fairly near the middle. I'm going to leave a good car's length away, let the car come through. Yeah, great, okay. Now how much steering do I need? A quarter of a turn to get out comfortably. That's the difference. Leave a car's length to the car in front of you and you'll be absolutely fine. The more room you leave, the easier it's going to be. So in this situation, I'd let the car get to here, and then what about now he's passed me? Okay, and I'm out really early. Much less steering required and much easier, much more comfortable. Now this is quite a difficult concept for lots of people to learn, and that's the connection between your speed and your steering, your pedals and your steering wheel. And the faster we go, the less steering we actually need, and the slower we go, the more steering we need. But the really important part is when we actually change our speed when steering, that severely impacts how much we have to turn the wheel. Let me show you what I mean. Now, lots of people think that steering is one thing and pedals are a separate thing and that's it, two separate things, but they're not. They're actually completely entwined and connected. When we change our speed, that is going to completely change how much we need to steer. So here's a quick example. So I'm going in and I'm accelerating and I start turning this way and I'm holding it, but I'm accelerating. And you see I've started going wider? So I kept my steering exactly the same, but my car actually started going wider around the roundabout. That's because I was speeding up. That is why when we go into a bend, we want to brake before the bend, maintain around the bend, meaning if you start the bend at 15 miles per hour, you want to stay at 15 miles per hour, and then we accelerate out the bend. That's when we start to speed up, when we start to straighten out. It's also where the saying comes, in like a kitten, out like a tiger. Grr. And that applies to all bends. If you go in gently, you can accelerate out comfortably. In slow, out fast. Now again here, I'm going to be turning right. What's really important is I maintain the speed for the turn. So I'm down to 15 miles an hour. I turn, I'm just touching the gas, just touching, and then I can accelerate as I exit. That's going to give you the sweet turn. You never want to speed up or slow down into a bend. And half the time it's just knowing where the bends are on a driving test. So if you do want to know, try and get a gist of your area. If you're not too sure where to go, have a look at the free test route on my app for every test centre in the country. It's going to give you a damn good idea of where you should be driving. The faster you go on a road, the more sensitive your steering becomes, meaning you need less steering to change directions. For instance, if I need to change lanes here, I need the tiniest amount of steering to actually physically change the lanes. Do you see that? Barely imperceptible, barely visible how much turning I'm doing to actually move across a lane. Which means you might want to move your hands down on the wheel a little bit more if you're going faster, because up here, you're more sensitive on the wheel. You want less sensitivity. It's also really important that you're extremely loose. You've got really loose grip on a faster road, such as a motorway, dual carriageway, anything like that, because you want your eyes at the end of the road, not picking up and microscopic turns constantly all the way down. The other really important thing is to move your hands on the wheel. They never stay in one position. So as you saw, turning left here, my hands will automatically go to the top of the wheel because that's going to give me the maximum turning room without having to swap my hands around. If I keep my hands here, they're only going to be able to go about a quarter of a turn, half a turn max, and I'm going to be like an octopus. Here we go, I'll show you. Hands here, how much can I turn here? Okay, we're turning into octopus, hands are going backwards, so that's not good control steering. I've gone on the wrong side of the road a little bit because I can't turn my hands any more than that. You have to move your hands. There is no one size fits all. Not unless you're a race driver, and then that's different. So point is, if your steering feels messy, don't just ask, where are my hands? The better question is to ask, am I gripping the wheel too tight? Most common one. Second one is, am I looking in the right place, which is as far down the road as possible? Am I steering early enough? Am I matching my speed to the steering, not speeding up and not slowing down as I'm turning? Because good steering isn't just turning the wheel. It's about using your hands, your eyes, your speed, and your timing all together. And that's what makes the car feel calmer and in control. And then when the car looks like it's in control, you look like you're in control and you feel in control. Let me know if that has helped, guys. And if you do use the free test route on my app, Driving Test Expert, do me a favor, leave a review if it helps. I really, really appreciate that. That would be the biggest thank you can ever do for me. Good luck. Let me know what you'd like to see next, and I'll see you all soon. Boom.